What is going on, Miami Dolphins fans? Ben Morgan, Fins Up Network. In today's video, finally doing my first 7-round mock draft video of the offseason. And yes, I will admit it is a super weird time to do a mock draft because with free agency coming next week already, it changes the game. With free agency, you get to see obviously a few holes that have already been filled, a few new players who are in the mix. Kind of opens things up a little bit as to where the team may go in the draft. But it's a sickness. I love mock drafts, and I always love doing one prior to free agency just to kind of get a lay of the land, see which prospects are going where. For today's purpose, I'm actually using the Pro Football Network mock draft simulator. So this is my post combine pre-free agency 7-round mock draft. I will be doing another one shortly after kind of that first wave of free agency. And then we'll be doing a few more as well leading up to the NFL draft. But speaking of free agency, real quick before we jump into this mock, going to be doing my free agency wish list. The top 5 guys that I want to see the Dolphins land in free agency. We got legal tampering period coming up on the 13th. Free agency starts technically on the 15th. So I'm going to have my wish list. That's going to be coming out in probably a day or two. So check that out as well. And then leading up to the draft, I'll be doing a bunch of individual player profiles for the prospects in the draft. But I've talked about it enough already. Let's jump right in. I'm going to share my screen. Like I said, I am doing the Pro Football Network simulator. So let's do this, get it started. And I'll do a quick recap, kind of talking about some of the prospects that end up going that I kind of have my eye on prior to the Dolphins pick. So you can get an idea as to who has been taken, who is still available, and we can take it from there. So I'm going to scoot right back up to the top here in a second. I'm also, for the sake of this one, going to reject all trades. I will say that if the right trade is there, I really think the Dolphins will try to acquire more draft capital in this draft, only having 5 picks. However, for the sake of this, we're going to roll with the Miami Dolphins having the picks that they have. So let's check out how things shook out at the beginning. I am going to go kind of fast through these first guys, obviously, since we're not really in the mix for some of these guys. Bijan Robinson coming off the board as the first running back already at 16. Jahmyr Gibbs, the Dolphins love him. Ben Morgan loves him. So do the Giants, apparently. It looks like they're trying to fill a Saquon Barkley gap there, potentially, if he were to walk. We'll continue to go on through here. Cody Mock, unfortunately, goes off the board at 36, so scratch him off your list. John Michael Schmitz, if you're on an offensive line kick, he is completely off the board now as well. For those that want that second-round pick to be a tight end, specifically Darnell Washington, the way he dominated the combine, you're going to not be able to get him in this draft. Sorry for that. He comes off the board to the Saints there at number 40. Drew Sanders, a linebacker, comes off the board. To'o comes off the board. Tucker Kraft comes off the board. And Zach Evans. So a lot of players that are kind of on my radar going right before the Dolphins pick here at number 51. So we'll look at the big board right away first. Luke Musgrave, obviously still there. Nolan Smith is an intriguing prospect. I don't really expect him to be there. If the Dolphins didn't have, I don't want to say a surplus at edge, but if they if they could go honestly best player available, that'd be a nice pick for him there. Darnell Wright is still on the board. Kincaid still on the board. I don't anticipate that happening on draft day either. We'll look at some of these position by positions. So I'm going to focus a lot on the positions that I kind of have as needs for today's mock. Obviously, a lot of the running backs are still there. Robinson's gone. Gibbs is gone. But the rest of the gamut is essentially there. At tight end, Luke Musgrave is still there. Kincaid's still there. Like I said, I'm probably going to ignore Kincaid, just assuming that he's actually going to be gone in real life. Freeland's still there. Darnell Wright is still there. So far, I'm kind of most intrigued by one of those offensive linemen. And like I said, a lot of this kind of hinges on what the Dolphins do in free agency. But because of the disease, the sickness I have, we're gonna do the experiment anyways. So this is where I'm really intrigued because Sewell's still on the board. Jack Campbell's still on the board. Overshown on the board. Henley's still on the board. So linebacker right now has probably got my eye the most. I am intrigued by a lot of these cornerbacks. I don't assume Deontay Biggs being available there at number 51. Let's see here. Definitely got a lot, the gamut almost of safeties available. I'm going to focus on the linebackers though. And after the performance that he had in the combine, I'm going to give the nudge here to Jack Campbell. Obviously, showed more than I was giving him credit for right away. His ability to move in the combine so fluidly and look just so natural. He was PFF's number one pass graded coverage linebacker last year. Showed great growth in that from 21 to 22. Obviously, he's got the run thumping. He can shed blocks very well. I've talked about him enough. I'm going to go Jack Campbell. Jot that down so I remember who we took and threw out the way. Like I said, I am going to reject any of the trades that come in today. We're just going to go as is with the Dolphins picks. Let's look at who else has come off the board. Darnell Wright comes off the board. Musgrave comes off the board at 55. My guy, Jalen Jones, good zone corner there, comes off the board at 60. Andre Carter, who the Dolphins like, off the board at 61. Brent and A-Chain go back-to-back here, early third round. Ricks comes off the board. Charbonnet comes off the board. And Noah Sewell, man, he would have had my attention if he would have been available for the Dolphins there at 77. But one thing I'm going to say before I make this pick is you're going to notice that Dolphins are at 77 and then again at 84. So there could be some strategy utilized here with this pick, thinking, you know what, if there's one position that has maybe a bit of a surplus left, we can wait on that position and hopefully try to get that guy or a guy of similar caliber at 84. So if we're looking at the big board here, I still think Kincaid is gone. So just trying to keep this as realistic as possible, I'm going to once again ignore him. I also think Cansey would be gone at this point in time, so we'll ignore him. We'll look at the running backs that are still available, and I still think, I mean, there's enough guys here where I kind of use that strategy. There's only so many picks between 77 and 84. So if you like a lot of these running backs and you wanted to go running back in the first 3 rounds, there's going to be one of those guys left at 84. So let's look at the tight ends. Like I said, I'm ignoring Kincaid. I do like Laporta there. I like Kuntz. I like Payne Durham, but maybe we can take our chance on the Dolphins getting a tight end later. That is one of the rumblings that I've been hearing, that the Dolphins don't mind the idea of drafting a tight end, but it's not necessarily one of those guys in the second or third round as well. So we already went linebacker. If we wanted to double dip at linebacker, we certainly could. Overshone is still there. Henley is still there. Ivan Pace, who is good, showed a great ability to rush the quarterback in the Senior Bowl. Cornerbacks. I'm intrigued by the cornerbacks. However, I'm a little bit nervous because do the Dolphins really want to roll with trying to get a rookie that's going to contribute already in year one in the secondary? Because I do think we need to add cornerback. I just don't know if they're going to want to trust one of these guys as a starter right away. And obviously that's where free agency comes into play. So I kind of want to look past that a little bit. But you know what? This is a tough one. Dolphins fans, if I didn't say this right away, as I go through these picks, go ahead and drop in the comments who you would have been taking with these selections as well. Curious to see. But since it is mock draft exercise, and since I am a bit infatuated with Dion Henley, I'm in a double dip there. He can do a little bit of everything. He's got the speed to go sideline to sideline. He's a pretty sure tackler. Being a former safety, he's really good and natural in coverage. I like Overshone, but man, I've really come on to Henley recently. So let's double dip. Let's go Henley. Jot that one down real quick. Let's reject this trade real quick. That one as well. And now let's take a peek. I want to look back at which of those running backs made it. And like I said, almost all of them. So many of those running backs ended up making it. So now it's kind of like, well, who's your preference? Which one of these guys do you want the most? And that's such a tough choice because honestly, of the 1, 2, 3, 6 or 7 here that are listed, even going down further, I like so many of them. So maybe let's see if we can hold off to the 6th or the 7th. Not saying one of these guys are going to be there, but since so many of these guys are available, maybe there'll be some quality guys left a little bit later down the line as well. Like I said, I think Cansey's going to be off the board already, so we'll leave him alone for the time being. But I tell you what, and I think that it's a big if after the performance he had at the combine, if Blake Freeland is available, with this pick in the third round at 84, the Dolphins have to do it. Even if they get a guy like McGlinchey in free agency, knowing that Teron Armstead has his injury issues and linemen, and at some point they age, right? And we saw how much our depth was tested this last year. You got to make the pick. So just straight value, if he's available at this point in time, you got to make it happen. So I'm going to take Freeland there. And now our wait starts because we don't pick again until the first pick in the sixth round. So I'll do a quick recap once our pick is up here of some of the guys that I have on my watch list that ended up not making it to us here in round 6. So let's bounce back up to the third round when we had our pick. So Overshown goes immediately. Afterwards, Sean Tucker comes off the board. Blue Kelly comes off the board. DJ Turner, that would have been an intriguing pick if you're looking for an outright fast cornerback. Darius Rush, another guy that showed great speed at the cornerback position at the draft. Henry Miller comes off the board. Chase Brown, really like what he can do. Not the most sexy player in the world, but man, he's got the speed, he's got the build, he's got the ability to play in that zone blocking scheme as well. Wouldn't be mad at all about the Dolphins landing him. His brother Sidney comes off the board to the Jets. Let's keep him away from the Jets. I really like Sidney Brown. Let's continue to scoot through these. Sam Laporta comes off the board to the Jags. Tight end still being a need since we went linebacker, offensive line. So we'll take a peek at who's available in round 6 when we get that far. Tyjae Spears comes off the board to the Bills. Another guy that I don't want to see going to one of our divisional rivals. Let's try to avoid that if possible. Kenny McIntosh, a running back that I really like. Not sure if he's a perfect fit with Mike McDaniel, but I do like his ability as a pass catcher. Roshan Johnson comes off the board to the Bears. As we continue to scoot through here, Zach Kuntz comes off the board. Tight end would still be one of those positions I'd be targeting here in the 6th round. Payne Durham, unfortunately, comes off. That would have been a guy we could have been targeting. So now we're up. And Will Mallory's still on the board. That's a name I definitely have my eye on. But here's a guy as well. It's 186 there that you're going to see. Keaton Mitchell, and I talk about it. If the Dolphins want to wait and try to target one of these later round running backs, if Keaton Mitchell's still on the board, we're talking about a 6th round running back. We're not talking about a guy that's going to be featured as like the main guy. So if the Dolphins were to re-sign Wilson and Mostert and go running back by committee approach again, rather than getting a big name in free agency, and rather than taking a guy early in the draft, a guy like Keaton Mitchell is interesting because of that ability in the zone blocking scheme, the speed that he has, the shiftiness that he has. He put it on display in the combine. So right now he's got my vote. But let's take a peek here. What is available at tight end? Mallory's still there. Wiley's still there. Davis Allen is still there. Let's go to defense. We haven't drafted a cornerback yet. Luter's still there. I'd like to potentially target him in the 7th. Let's do that. Let's go. Click the wrong button there. But let's go with Keaton Mitchell here in round 6. So we got the running back taken care of. We'll do a quick recap of who all got thrown off the board there. We're picking about the middle-ish of the 7th round here. So we got a bit of a wait here after this pick as well. Hunter Lipke comes off the board, intrigued by him. Not every team needs a fullback, but the Dolphins love their fullbacks. They're not scared to roster more than one of them. He would have been an intriguing pick there. All the guys that I like are going to these divisional teams. You noticing that? Hopefully that doesn't come to fruition when it's all said and done. Going through here, we're getting a little bit thinner. Will Mallory comes off the board. Let's see what else we've got here. Wiley comes off the board. Would have loved to try to land him in the 7th. He had a really nice combine. Wouldn't be surprised to see him jump off the board a little bit. Luter comes off the board. Every time I talk about a guy, he just seems to be taken. So that's on me. I won't be doing that during the draft. So just for a reminder, we've got Campbell and Henley at linebacker. We got Freeland at tackle, and we've got Mitchell at running back. So obviously in the 7th round, you're not really drafting for need the way it is. But for the sake of this, let's continue to look at some of the positions that we are considering to be need. So Davis Allen is still there. At tight end, not the world's greatest fit, in my opinion, with Mike McDaniel and his system. He's an okay blocker. He's not great. Do we want to go down that road again? Who knows? A bit underutilized at Clemson. Did show some spurts here and there, had a decent combine as well. He's definitely on my radar. If we wanted to double dip on linemen, we're getting thin. We're getting thin, ladies and gentlemen. That's all I can say. We'll take a peek at some of these guys here. Go position by position. Like I said, all these picks, go ahead, drop the names of who you would have been taking here as well in the comments. Curious to see who all you guys would have liked. We already took 2 linebackers. So as much as I would love to get a guy named Bumper Pool on the Miami Dolphins, we'll pass for the time being. Getting thin. That's the story of the day. So with that, I am going to go with my original thought. I am going to take Davis Allen. That would conclude the Miami Dolphins pick. So this is what you're looking at. Based on this mock draft, you've got Jack Campbell coming off in the second round. The 2 third-rounders were spent on Henley and Freeland, addressing a running back in the 6th round with Keaton Mitchell, and obviously wrapping things up in the 7th at tight end with Davis Allen out of Clemson. So let's get the screen off here real quick. But like I said, give me your thoughts on that draft. If you had picks at all of those positions, I went through it kind of quickly. Hopefully you were able to get a little bit of a lay of the land, but go ahead, drop your thoughts on who you would have been taken in the comments. Let's have a conversation there. Like I said, I'll be back really soon here with my free agent wish list. Be sure to get subscribed to be checking that out as well. But I will wrap things up for today, Dolphins fans. But until next time, fins up.